Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel Allende. I'm the Reverend Tom Rosiello, minister of this congregation. We especially would like to welcome those who may be visiting our service today. You are always welcome among us, and no matter where you are, if you feel that this community is where you'd like to make your spiritual home, please check out our website for information on how to become a member. As we do each week, we light a flame to mark the beginning of our time together, to separate this time from other time, to make this our sacred time, a time when we go to a deeper place of faith and love and hope, a time when we are asked to open our minds and our hearts and be attentive to what's shared here as well as the still small voice within each of us. A time when we are called upon to connect with the best in ourselves and in each other. We pray that the flame that we will now light will burn as a lamp of welcome to all, a beacon of truth, of justice, of love, of inclusion. On this Sunday, when we celebrate Pride, we extend a special greeting to all those who may identify as lesbian, gay, bi, trans, non-binary, queer, or questioning of their sexual orientation or gender identification. For us, as Unitarian Universalists, the celebration of Pride is an affirmation of what we believe in. It is an expression of the very first principle that Unitarian Universalists affirm: the equal worth and dignity of every person. I like to think of Pride as a religious holiday for us because it celebrates what's at the very core of who we are. In a time when most religions still reject, degrade, condemn, and demean those who come out as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, we proudly do just the opposite. We celebrate their lives and are honored to welcome them into our beloved community. Now, as many of you know, Provincetown, Massachusetts is a place that's close for both Malcolm and I, and a place where we had a home. It's also a place where many lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer people find community. And on the front of the sign, in front of our Unitarian Universalist church there, right below the title of the sermon for that Sunday, are the words, "Come as you are." Now, of course, on one level in this beach community, it means it's okay to go to church in your t-shirt or flip-flops. But on another level, at that church in Provincetown, at this fellowship in Mexico, and at UU congregations all over the world, those words mean so much more. They mean that you can proudly bring your whole self, your honest and true self here, and we will welcome you as you are. Please now join in extending that invitation to each other as we together sing the words of the Sufi mystic poet Rumi, which will soon appear on your screen.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, condemned, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no
Good morning. Please join us in reciting together our spoken covenant, which should appear on your screen. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very sacred and important time in our service, a time when members and friends share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. If you'd like to share a joy, sorrow, or concern in a future service, please email it to me. If you wish to share one today but have not emailed it, you may type it into chat now. For each joy, sorrow, or concern, Malcolm will light a candle representing that person, that thought, or that prayer is held among us this morning. Our first is a sorrow from Lee Knox, who lights this candle in memory of Lloyd Geddes. She was a longtime resident of San Miguel and a friend of our fellowship who often attended our services. Our thoughts are with her and our prayers go out to all her friends and family that she leaves behind. Our second candle is one of joy in celebration of Hugh Tomlinson's birthday, which was this past week. Today is election day in San Miguel, and even though most of us are not citizens and cannot vote or participate in the political process, we're reminded that as a faith tradition, we support the use of the democratic process, and we hope that all those among us who are citizens and the greater Mexican community use their right wisely to elect officials who will serve the entire community well. We now light a candle for the joys, sorrows, and concerns that have been typed into chat, and for all those which are held deep in our hearts but remain unexpressed this morning. Finally, we'll light the rest of the candles to complete a rainbow of color for this Pride Sunday. We do so with gratitude to those who fought to advance the rights of LGBTQ people. We do so remembering all those who have suffered and are suffering simply because of who they are. We hold in our hearts everyone who has struggled because society has made it difficult to simply be who they are and to be able to express their love openly. We hold in our hearts all those who have been and are still the victims of LGBTQ discrimination and of the many laws that are still being passed to deny equal rights, especially to trans individuals. We hold in our hearts all those who have been and sadly still are the victims of homophobia, transphobia, hate, bullying, violence, and even murder. We hold in our hearts all those suffering the pain of rejection by family and friends and churches, by being honest about who they are. We hold in our hearts the many who have taken their own lives because they believed themselves unworthy to live, or they simply could not live with the harassment, the hate, and the rejection. We remember all those who've died of AIDS, and for all the LGBTQ people denied the medical care they need because of who they are. We pause now for a moment to bring to mind all of them and hold them in our hearts. This rainbow of candles is also one of hope for the future. Hope that the next generation of LGBTQ folks and the generations after will not face the challenges that those folks of our generation and before have. Our message to them is expressed in a beautiful song written by a Unitarian Universalist minister, Fred Small, and sung by the Flirtations, a gay men's a cappella group that for many of us, for many, many years, was the voice of pride. We will now hear them in a recording at a gay pride celebration 30 years ago. The song will be introduced by Michael Callan, who died of AIDS just a few years after this performance.
Well, we're going to sing a lullaby, and we like to imagine how different the world might be if more parents would sing lullabies like this to their children. We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved, washed the dishes, and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sail to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, well, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone.
Some girls grow up strong and bold. Some boys are quiet and kind.
Some race on ahead,
Some follow behind.
Some grow in their own space and time.
some women love women,
And some men love men.
some raise children, and some never do.
You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible for you. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts or games,
But seek out
seek out
spirits true.
If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads. And know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone.
Oh, the
Love you leave
behind when you're gone.
Each week, we ask you to make a financial contribution. And with the money that you contribute to this fellowship, we help support many nonprofit organizations that do incredible work in the greater community. We ask for your gifts to help us with our giving, but also to support what this fellowship itself does week after week, with services like this one, also to support the ongoing operation and the many ministries of this congregation. On a Sunday like this, when we surely see what a unique and important role a thriving Unitarian Universalist congregation plays in this community, I'd like you to reflect upon the value of what happens every Sunday morning to address important issues, to lift spirits, to connect people, and inspire justice and good works. As you contemplate your giving this morning, I invite you to reflect upon all the ways we build inclusive community, not just among those of us who are guests here in Mexico, but the increasingly multicultural, bilingual way with members of the Mexican community now finding Unitarian Universalism the right fit for them, and with the many, many who join us by Zoom. I invite you to think about the value of being visible, of being the voice of liberal religion, of showing people that there is a church that openly includes LGBTQ people, and a church that allows you to hold on to your own beliefs, whatever those may be. I invite you to think about what this fellowship means to you, a fellowship that creates beloved community again and again, that with professional and volunteers, ministers to those in need, and that together celebrates the joys in our lives, together mourns our losses, and supports each other in times of struggle. A fellowship that cares for its members as well as the greater community, and opens our door wide to welcome those who need a different kind of spiritual home. A fellowship where adults and children are affirmed for who they are, and where children, through liberal religious education, learn values that will serve them well throughout life. A place where love is made real again and again. Every dime or every peso this fellowship receives goes to do good and important work. But this morning as you give, I invite you not to just think about how we support other organizations, but all that this organization actually does. Our services, our programs, our ministries, and even just our presence in this community. Instructions will now appear on your screen explaining how you can support all this fellowship does and gives. Please be generous.
De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we
higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. The farther you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone, oh no. There's something inside so strong. Whoa, no, something inside so strong.
The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. The more you refuse the things I need, the more I want everything. Deny my place in time, you squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it will blind you. 'Cause there's something inside so strong. Oh, I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone, oh no. There's something inside so strong. Whoa, no, something inside so strong.
Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough, what do we do then? We'll look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone, oh no. There's something inside so strong. Whoa, no, something inside so strong. Something inside, something inside, something inside, something inside.
There's something so
Strong. It's so strong.
You know, people have many ideas about what a LGBTQ pride celebration might look like. For some, parades and wild parties come to mind. And yes, pride celebrations can be a lot of fun. But below the surface, there's something much more important taking place. Pride is a celebration of the human spirit, of courage in the face of challenges, of honesty and openness, even when people might rather we lie and remain in the closet. Claiming pride is the antidote to the shame and fear many LGBTQ individuals have been forced to feel by society, even by close family and friends, and certainly by many religions. Pride brings community and acceptance to places where there has been too much loneliness and isolation. When LGBTQ folks celebrate Pride, we're connecting with that something inside so strong that you just heard about. Something that tells us that no matter how badly we've been treated, how many times we've been put down, bullied, threatened, judged, condemned, our pride is not gone. We can make it, and we will not be defeated. But sadly, even today, some of us do not make it. Each year at Pride, we also think about those lost to violence, to AIDS, to suicide. We claim pride and respect for their lives too. And when allies and family and friends and members of a congregation like this one celebrate pride, you acknowledge that our first principle, affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every person, includes all the LGBTQ folks of the world too. And that you take part in the still ongoing fight for equality, that you'll speak up even when it's a bit uncomfortable to do so, proclaiming our worth and dignity. In today's service, you're hearing the voices of LGBTQ folks. You're hearing them in the wonderful music they make, in the poetry they write, and in the stories of their lives that they courageously share. Their stories of struggle and pain, and also love and joy. Stories of surviving, of thriving, but also, as Jean Marie and Morganna will remind us, there are also stories of those who tried but did not make it, those who lost their lives to homophobia, transphobia, and hate. Those who lost their lives to AIDS, a disease for which so long our society lacked a true commitment to treat because it mostly affected gay men. All their stories need to be shared too. The struggle for LGBTQ equality is not won. Courageous people still need to tell their stories, to inspire others and bring them hope, and to challenge those who would silence us and deny us rights. So I'm so very grateful to the three individuals who've agreed to join me in creating the message of this morning's Pride service, sharing who they are and part of their journey of becoming their true authentic self. I invite you to listen attentively first to two members of our congregation, a proud gay man, Brian Fishbone, a proud trans woman, Jean Marie Stine, and lastly, to Mexico's amazing and proud trans woman, Morganna Luv. And now, to set the stage for their stories, I'd like us to share a poem. At the 1982 General Assembly, Unitarian Universalist May Sarton was introduced before delivering the Ware Lecture by then UUA President Jean Pickett as our poet. A lesbian whose universal appeal is what was often called her ability to sacramentalize the ordinary, slowly revealed her sexuality in many books over her lifetime. This poem, Now I Become Myself, certainly speaks to the pride experience of doing just that. Now I Become Myself by May Sarton. Now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I have been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces, run madly as if time were there, terribly old, crying a warning. Hurry, you'll be dead before... What? Before you reach the morning? Or the end of the poem is clear? Or love safe in the walled city? Now to stand still, to be here, feel my own weight and density. The black shadow on the paper is my hand. The shadow of a word as thought shapes the shaper falls heavy on the page is heard. All fuses now, falls into place. From wish to action, word to silence. My work, my love, my time, my face, gathered into one intense gesture of growing, like a plant, as slowly as the ripening fruit, fertile, detached, and always spent, falls but does not exhaust the root. So all the poem is, can give, grows in me to become the song, made so and rooted by love. Now there is time, and time is young. Oh, in this single hour I live all of myself and do not move. I, the pursued, who madly ran, stand still. Stand still and stop the sun.
Hello, my name is Brian Fishbone, and I'm thrilled to share a story for our fellowship's Pride service. I'm actually going to read an excerpt of my memoir. I actually published a book about my coming out experience. It's called Closets Are for Clothes, a memoir, and it's actually available on Amazon. So here, I'm going to read a short excerpt from it that's about how wonderful it felt and how good it was for me once I was out of the closet. The name of this section is I'm Better Out Here. My coming out began inside of me. I relaxed my mind in meditation class. I grappled with my sexual identity. I vacillated, thinking about pros and cons, about coming out to friends and family. I recognized that I did not have to be alone on Friday and Saturday nights, that I was in a self-imposed prison. I saw that I could finally be happy. I envisioned a new life for myself, and then I created it for myself. I am better today. I am more whole. And my friend Susie, a strawberry blonde with a consulting background and a heart of gold, is the one who really helped me see it. Right after coming out to her, we enjoyed dinner at Maggiano's at 12th and Filbert Streets in Philadelphia. I'm sure you're familiar with these Italian chains with their mammoth portions of chicken parmesan and tiramisu, piped in Italian music, and waiters and waitresses decked out in formal wear. I can still see where we were sitting, smack in the middle of the restaurant. She was sitting to my right at a table for 4, even though there were only 2 of us. We had just finished our salads when we began talking about my recent revelation. And Susie has this really wonderful way of saying the right thing at the right time with the right emotion. She is warm, kind, and introspective. She chooses her words wisely. Without any prompting, she shared sweetly, Brian, I think what I like most about you being out is now I get to see a side of you that was always shut off, locked away from me. I finally get to see you and know you as a whole person. I remember her words today, as if she had said them to me yesterday. She loved me so much as a friend that she lamented never being able to talk with me about matters of the heart. She had missed this beautiful part of me I was so afraid to share with the world, but she knew had existed all along. As Susie shared her commentary with me, all I could think was, what a sweet reward for all of those painful years in the closet and all of the gut-wrenching work associated with coming out of the closet. Thanks, Susie. You and so many other friends helped me see that my homosexuality is a beautiful part of me, one that informs all of the other parts that people love about me. My success as a passionate, engaged teacher who has no qualms about dancing on top of a table in a classroom and wearing a pink shirt and tie is because I am gay. My ability to listen with empathy and compassion to friends who are in trouble is because I am gay. My desire to connect on a deep, meaningful level with colleagues around the world is because I am gay. And most importantly, I am so thankful every day that I have found a partner and husband like John, that my love for him is boundless and his is for me. My partnership with him would not be possible if I had not realized that closets are in fact for clothes, not people. I am gay and I am so much better out here. I'd like to end with a special aside for my gays, brothers, and sisters who are still in the closet, I understand you are on your own timeline, and your friends, family, and I know we can't force you out of the closet. If you're 40, 50, 60, 70, or 80 and reading this from inside your closet, that's okay. You're special, you're good, you matter. I know your struggle. I know how your mind races. I know you think you could lose it all if you tell anybody. But it's never too late to think about coming out. Talk to someone. The true friends and family, like my friend Susie, want to know and love every part of you, and they may already know your big secret. They may just be waiting lovingly for you to tell them. And if you feel you can't talk to friends or family, talk to a counselor, a support hotline operator, anyone. You are not alone, and you don't have to go it alone. I believe in you. Remember, closets are for clothes, not for people.
Hello, my name is Jean Marie Stine. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel, and I'm very pleased to be part of today's service. I have noticed that one of the lacks of events like this is that those of us who participate are the survivors. We somehow made it without being murdered or committing suicide or any of the other things that have been known to happen to GLBTQI plus people. And there's a problem with that. You don't get to hear from those for whom it was so overwhelming or dangerous that they didn't make it to participate. And I want to tell you about one of those people. I wrote a little piece about her some years ago, half poem, half musing, half meditation. Her name is Julia Case. Julia Case was my sister. I met her in Northampton, Mass. We became instant comrades. We had so much in common. She was a techie and a programmer. We loved the same movies and TV shows. She was also a spendthrift. If she got paid Friday, she was broke Monday morning. And she got big bucks. One day, she took her with me to shop for a new stereo system at Target, which was the only place in town where you could get such. Julia narrowed it down to two systems, the most expensive and the second most expensive. She asked me if she should take the time to look over their specs. I said, why waste the time? You know you're going to buy the most expensive one. Get it now and let's go to dinner. She laughed because she knew it was true. And she bought the most expensive one. The trans world then was a tight community. It didn't take long for us to learn that she was fresh out of a psychiatric ward. She was fine as long as she stayed on her meds and was surrounded by her friends. She did not drink every day, but when she did, she drank too much. It was clear she was desperately lonely and looking for the close love of a lover partner. We found out why. Here in a nutshell, is the story of Julia's family. They were right-wing Christians. They never spoke to her again after she announced she was trans and was going to have a sex change. They told her ailing grandmother that Julia was dead and blocked all of Julia's attempt to communicate with her grandmother. And now we get to the nub. Shortly after 9/11, Julia's brother went to prison for setting fire to a Hindu who he mistook for a Muslim. When he got out of prison, Julia's family took him back in. They never took Julia back in. It's easy to understand why she longed so desperately to be loved. We had a lot of laughs, shared a lot of thoughts, went on many adventures. I always see it sunshine when I think of those days. But one day, 3,000 miles away, in the aftermath of a love affair that went wrong, Julia killed herself. Julia had just been released from a 48-hour hold in a local psychiatric hospital and knew what to say to get herself out. She then went and jumped off a bridge. Statistics aren't numbers. They are snuffed out hearts. Sorry if that sounds over the top. Julia Case was my sister.
You may notice that we're dressed a little formally. We're coming to you where Morganna and I are both guests at a rather formal wedding. I'd like to introduce Morganna Luv to you. Morganna is truly a trailblazer for LGBTQ rights in Mexico. Using her platform as a singer and as an actress, this trans woman has done so much to further LGBTQ pride in Mexico, in Latin America, and well beyond. Born and raised in San Miguel, she can speak to the local experience of the LGBTQ community in a way that none of us who are guests in this country can. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Morganna, I urge you to check out her YouTube videos, her movies, her Netflix appearances, and of course, if you've not seen her book, En el Cuerpo Correcto, published by Random House, please do find a copy. I urge you also to be attentive to the performances she does in San Miguel, and I'd like to just begin by recognizing that in 2020, she was recognized by Forbes magazine as one of the 100 most powerful women in Mexico for her activism on behalf of trans women. So it's so good to have you with us today and to celebrate Pride with us and share a bit of your story. Thank you for taking the time to do this. You're most welcome. From your very early age, you knew your gender identity did not conform to your body. How old were you when you began to discover your feminine identity, and what was that like, and how did you respond?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, for being here, speaking for you as a San Miguelense woman. Tenía 4 años cuando me di cuenta que me identificaba con las mujeres, con las niñas, con las heroínas de la televisión, con mi mamá. Tenía 4 años cuando quería imitar a mi mamá en su manera de vestirse, de maquillarse, de peinarse. Creo que mi mamá fue una inspiración muy grande para mí y el hecho de que quisiera imitarla correspondió a la manera en la que yo me identificaba como una niña. A los 4 años yo sabía que cuando creciera yo iba a ser una mujer Desafortunadamente mi familia no tenía mucha información sobre el tema de las personas trans y mi mamá me vio en el tocador maquillándome y peinándome y ella se enojó mucho conmigo y me limpió la cara y me explicó que yo era un niño y que cuando creciera iba a ser un hombre y que no tenía ninguna oportunidad de ser quien yo sentía que era, es decir, una mujer. Y a partir de ahí me sentí triste, me sentí frustrada, porque yo no entendía cómo era que yo no iba a ser un hombre, cómo era que yo no iba a ser una mujer. Entonces fue difícil y a partir de ese momento supe la diferencia entre un hombre y una mujer, entre un niño y una niña, y entre todos estos complicados conceptos que tenemos sobre sexualidad en México.
Gracias. Well, you grew up here in San Miguel, a pretty conservative town. Can you tell us what your experience was like for you and for your family and with the local residents, how they responded?
Era complicado vivir en San Miguel de Allende como un adolescente afeminado. Yo tenía 12 años, 13 años cuando entré a la secundaria, a la preparatoria, estaba en mi adolescencia y la voz nunca me cambió, mi voz nunca cambió. Entonces en la escuela fui blanco muy fácil del bullying. Se me hizo muchísimo bullying en la secundaria. Me gritaban todos los días, tuve acoso sexual, tuve acoso verbal y también físico. Y fueron etapas muy duras porque sí, la gente, una parte de la población de San Miguel de Allende es muy conservadora. La otra parte, la parte de los extranjeros que vienen, es una parte liberal, pero pues yo había nacido en una familia conservadora y la mayoría de mis amigos en la escuela estaban en familias conservadoras. Entonces eso hizo que nadie en la escuela entendiera quién era yo y que no me respetara sobre todo eso. Creo que no tenemos que entender, sino respetar a los demás, y la manera en la que la educación sexual se da en las escuelas es algo que tiene que cambiar. Si hubieran enseñado educación sexual y diversidad sexual en mi secundaria y en mi preparatoria, estoy segura de que yo no hubiera sufrido tanto ataque ni acoso en la escuela.
Gracias. Now, at a very early age, you also discovered something else. You discovered you were a singer. And I don't want to leave that part of the story out because I know that it's such a part of your total journey of becoming yourself. So could you speak a little bit about your career as a singer and an actress and the role that played in your transition journey?
Music saved my life. That's it. La música me salvó en todos los aspectos. Yo empecé a cantar cuando tenía 4 años. Tenía 4 años y estaba en un colegio de monjas, en un colegio religioso, y empecé a cantar en el coro. Y en el coro se dieron cuenta de que yo era una buena cantante, que tenía muy bonita voz, y me escogieron como solista. A partir de ahí me gustó cantar muchísimo, y a tal grado que a los 18 años decidí estudiar y ser una cantante de ópera. Claro que en aquel entonces mis papás me exigieron tener un título para pues valerme en la vida, para ser alguien, para tener un documento que avalara quién era yo y lo buena que era. Pero yo solo quería cantar, así que pues terminé estudiando para ser cantante de ópera, y bueno, me gustó tanto que estudié en el Conservatorio Nacional de Música en la Ciudad de México. Y en esos momentos difíciles, cuando yo llegaba llorando sola a mi cuarto, empezaba a cantar, y todo el dolor proveniente del bullying, todo el dolor proveniente de todo lo que me pasaba en la escuela todos los días, se suavizaba. Y yo empezaba a saber que la música era lo que me iba a hacer feliz en la vida.
Well, you had a very successful career as a countertenor singing opera in Mexico City and elsewhere. And you made a huge decision to become who you really are. Can you tell us about making the decision?
Fue una decisión muy difícil para mí, porque sí, yo ya era un contratenor exitoso. Canté en Bellas Artes, canté en los mejores teatros de la Ciudad de México y del país entero. Y estaba a punto de irme a cantar a Europa, también tenía ofertas para irme a cantar como contratenor a Europa. Pero en ese entonces me di cuenta de que yo no era feliz, de que era exitoso, sí, pero de que no era feliz y no me sentía plena. Caí en una depresión muy fuerte y ya no comía, no iba a trabajar a la compañía donde me habían aceptado. Y fueron días muy difíciles, cuando estuve cerca de la muerte, pero mis ganas de vivir la vida, mis ganas de ser feliz y mis ganas de dejar de complacer a la gente me ganaron. Y eso fue lo que me hizo salir adelante, tomar la decisión de transicionar, de hacer una transición hacia mi verdadera yo. Y eso, me di cuenta de que yo había estado viviendo toda mi vida complaciendo a mis papás, complaciendo a mi familia, a mi escuela, a mis amigos y tratando de ser un hombre, el hombre que ellos esperaban que yo fuera. Y ahí pensé, no debo complacer a nadie más que a mí misma. Es hora de ser feliz yo misma. Y ahí fue cuando decidí hacer la transición.
Gracias. Now, you had hormonal and psychological treatment in Mexico, and then you had gender conformity surgery in Thailand. There's an award-winning documentary called Made in Bangkok, which you all should see, about Morganna's journey, and I recommend it to all of you. But would you tell us about that courageous journey to Thailand and the surgery a little?
Yes. Fue uno de los momentos más locos de mi vida. Creo que se necesita cierta locura para atreverse a ser feliz en este mundo, para atreverse a ser quien uno mismo es. Yo no tenía dinero para pagar una cirugía de reasignación sexual y yo la necesitaba porque desde los 5 años empecé a tener problemas con mis genitales. Yo me sentía triste, me sentía frustrada, enojada todos los días contra mis genitales. Y así crecí toda mi vida, muy incómoda, muy descontenta. A los 15 años intenté mutilarme por la desesperación y la frustración que sentía contra mis genitales. Yo era muy religiosa también y le pedía a Dios todos los días que a la mañana siguiente yo despertara convertida en una mujer. Así que todo eso lo viví hasta los 32 años. Cuando una amiga me mandó el concurso Miss International Queen en Tailandia y me dijo, tú tienes que ir a concursar ahí. Y a mí no me interesaban los concursos de belleza. Yo no sabía, nunca había participado en uno. Y esta amiga que vive en Madrid siempre me decía, métete a este concurso o a este. Y yo le decía, no quiero concursar de belleza, ¿para qué? Y me dijo, el premio son $10,000. Con $10,000 tú pagas tu cirugía de reasignación sexual. Y entonces, claro que yo dije, sí voy, sí me meto al concurso y lo voy a ganar y voy a tener mi cirugía. Y me metí a este concurso representando a México. Ahora soy una reina de belleza. y me fui a Tailandia, no tenía dinero, les di un concierto, mis amigos me apoyaron, fueron a verme cantar, me dieron dinero para que yo me fuera. Y también hubo un documentalista argentino que me ayudó también porque quería filmar todo este proceso. Me fui a Tailandia y estuve en el concurso 2 semanas, que es como Miss Universo, pero para mujeres transgénero, transexuales, travestis, y no gané. No gané porque yo no estaba preparada y porque yo era muy insegura conmigo misma. Entonces, al perder el concurso, me deprimí más. Pero el documentalista con el que iba yo habló con el doctor Pricha Tiutranon, con el que yo me quería operar, y el doctor Pricha fue a escucharme cantar dentro del concurso de belleza. Cuando el doctor Pricha se enteró de que yo no había ganado, que era una mexicana que cantaba ópera y que se quería operar con él, me mandó llamar a su consultorio, a su clínica, PAI, Pricha Aesthetic Institute, y me recibió y me dijo, I'm gonna give you the surgery a cambio de que tú cantes para mí en un congreso mundial sobre salud trans. Y eso fue un gran regalo para mí de la vida, del universo, el cual nunca voy a terminar de agradecer a la vida, al doctor Pritchard, y ahí renací. I reborn that day.
It's an amazing story. Amazing story. Today you're making movies, you're performing concerts, but you're also serving as a sort of ambassador for the LGBTQ community, particularly for trans people, I think. This is certainly not the first Pride event that you've been involved with or spoken at. Could you tell us a little bit about your work as an activist?
Yes, hace 6 años, no, más. Hace como 12 años, antes de mi transición, cuando estaba yo apenas transicionando, asesinaron a una amiga mía. Fue un momento muy difícil, muy doloroso, fue un asesinato de transfobia. En ese entonces me dolió mucho, pero yo no sabía que yo podía hacer algo, hacer una diferencia en mi país, en México, para que las cosas cambiaran. Después de 4 años estaba yo trabajando en un bar y llamado La Perla en Ciudad de México, y tenía muchas amigas con las que iba de compras, con las que iba al salón de belleza, me ayudaban a producirme, me enseñaban cómo maquillarme y peinarme, ellas me enseñaron. Y estaba yo desayunando un día en Ciudad de México y recibí la llamada de una de ellas contándome que acababan de asesinar a otra de mis amigas. Ese fue un momento muy duro porque yo no entendía por qué no se estaban matando, por qué mataban a mis amigas. Al poco tiempo mataron a otra y eso me caló muy hondo, fue muy fuerte para mí, fue muy difícil. Porque yo sabía que las habían matado por ser trans y por la vida que llevaban, por intentar ser felices. Entonces ahí decidí levantar la voz, intentar hacer una diferencia y no conformarme con ser una cantante exitosa que viajaba por el mundo, actriz, y tener todo el glamour y la belleza y los vestidos bonitos, sino que como una verdadera artista, como un ser humano lleno de arte, iba a tener conciencia social, iba a tener un compromiso para levantar la voz y sensibilizar a la sociedad, visibilizarnos a las mujeres trans y contarles a la sociedad que somos seres humanos que buscamos ser felices, que buscamos ser libres y que buscamos respeto. Entonces, empecé a hablar, cada que tenía un concierto yo hablaba del tema, empecé a darme a conocer por las dos cosas porque no me quedaba callada en estos temas, y la ONU, la UN, Organización de las Naciones Unidas, me invitó a ser embajadora de su campaña Free and Equal, que habla sobre los derechos humanos de todas las personas independientemente de su orientación sexual o su identidad de género. Y es un compromiso que tengo de levantar la voz para que haya respeto a nuestro país, en el mundo entero, porque no nada más la violencia se vive en México, sino en muchos países todavía del mundo, desafortunadamente, donde se vive la homofobia, donde se castiga la homosexualidad o la transexualidad. Entonces es un compromiso que tengo yo como artista de seguir levantando la voz para que haya cada vez más respeto entre todos los seres humanos.
Gracias for that work. Thank you so much. Finally, what would you like to just say to the LGBTQ folks here in Mexico, especially the youth who are discovering who they really are, and what advice would you give them?
Ay, yo les quiero decir que la vida es muy corta. Una nunca sabe cuándo se va a morir. No sabemos cuándo nos vamos a morir. Y vale mucho la pena ser libres y ser plenos y vivir la vida que siempre hemos querido vivir. Creo que es un camino difícil en México el salir a ser quienes realmente somos el decirle a los demás, esta soy yo, es difícil, se necesita mucho valor, porque todavía hay mucho machismo y homofobia y transfobia en este país. Pero vale la pena total y completamente. Más vale vivir un día plenos que muchísimos días siendo sumisos, esclavos de un sistema que nos ha querido encerrar y que no nos ha permitido ser libres. Yo les aconsejaría que busquen amigos, amigas o familia que esté incondicionalmente para ustedes, que se preparen mucho, que estudien mucho una carrera o un oficio, lo que quieran, porque mientras más sepamos, más cosas sepamos en la vida, más armas vamos a tener para valernos por nosotras y nosotros mismos, y no vamos a tener que necesitar de nadie más que no esté de acuerdo con nosotros. Finalmente, hay muchas organizaciones ahora, afortunadamente, que no nos dejan estar solos ni solas o soles, que no nos abandonan. Y hay mucha gente como tú, como Tom, como todos nuestros amigos y familia, como pues toda la gente que está incondicionalmente para nosotras. Busquen a esas personas que les van a ayudar a seguir adelante y a ser seres humanos felices, porque todo esto vale la pena.
You are such an inspiration. You really are. Thank you so much for being here today and being part of our Pride service. Really appreciate it.
Love you, admire you, and you're an inspiration for me too.
And you're an inspiration for me. Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias. On behalf of everyone in the fellowship, I again want to thank Brian, Jean Marie, and Morganna for sharing with us today. And I want to thank all of you for being with us. We hope you'll join us for a wonderful service next Sunday with guest minister Albert Straube. Now, as you could see, my interview with Morganna Luv was filled in advance, but I am thrilled that she is here with us this morning and will conclude the service with me now. Great to see you. Yes. Morganna will also be with us after the service for your questions. We hope you'll stay with us for the virtual coffee hour to chat with old friends and meet new ones. After the postlude, you'll be given the option to go to a breakout room for some small group discussion, and there's some questions that'll be posted in the chat now that you may want to discuss. Morganna will stay with me in the main room. You're welcome to stay with us and not select a breakout room. Also, if you're new, please do stay in the main room so we and a member of our welcome team can greet you in person. For those of you who do select a breakout room, you will be brought back to the main room, so you'll still get to meet Morganna before we conclude. We end our service with a benediction, good words, to take with us for reflection and inspiration in the week ahead. Today, I'd like to share the words of proud gay man and author of Tales of the City, Armistead Maupin, who writes these words: "The world changes in direct proportion to the number of people willing to be honest about their lives."
El mundo cambia en proporción directa al número de personas dispuestas a ser honestas sobre sus vidas. Armistead Maupin.
Malcolm will now extinguish our flame, marking the conclusion of our sacred time together. But not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment to equality and justice. That we carry forth with us in our hearts. And may peace be with you till we meet again.
Closely on the heels of the newly formed women's choruses, gay men began to gather informally and sing. In the fall of 1978, a group of gay men banded together to form the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. Just a few weeks later, a tragic twist of fate brought them into the international spotlight.
On November 27th, San Francisco Mayor George Moscone and supervisor and gay rights activist Harvey Milk were assassinated.
In response to this horrific and heartbreaking crime, our candlelight vigil was organized on the steps of San Francisco City Hall, and the men of the young chorus gathered for their first impromptu and public performance. Thousands of people flocked to the vigil, and when CNN broadcast the banner San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus to the TV-watching world, the LGBT choral movement took flight.
LGBT activist Holly Near pinned "Singing for Our Lives" in her car on the way to the candlelight vigil. It was created in honor of Harvey Milk and was sung for the first time by the mourners gathered.